Okay, glad to take a few questions. Yeah.
Can you put in national context where you're announcing this at a time we have a president who did not come into his job with a experience as an elected official, and he is often criticized for some of the things he does. Can you put that in some context for us, too?
Well, I don't. Like I said, this has happened long before Donald Trump became president, and I think Dean Brown can attest to that. We've been having these discussions for some time, and this is more so on the level of elected officials just across the board here in the state of Ohio. Part of this came about, as like I said, with the National Speakers Conference, talking to colleagues across the country about a more need for several things, but those being, work compromise is not a bad thing. Bipartisanship is not a bad thing. Talking with civility is extremely important. These conversations, believe it or not, well before the presidential campaign even started in 2016. And we've had this discussion ongoing since last year because I asked Speaker Pro Tem Schuring to help really kind of go out and put a search for where does this fit the best. And that's how UC came into it, because the two institutions that we really looked at was between the University of Cincinnati and Ohio State University. And I asked the Speaker Pro Tem to kind of engage and find out where would be the best path for this. Ultimately, we decided here at Ohio State, because it's central to our, not only to our state, but because of the vision that Dean Brown laid forward for what this institute could really go forward. I just laid out a roadmap of saying, here's where I think we need to go. And then we actually spent 2 years really bouncing this around different, it might have been a year and a half, but bouncing this around different institutions that led us even going clear to Boston to meet at the John Kennedy School, because the last thing I wanted to do was put money behind something that was just going to throw more money at nothing, but we wanted to make sure we were actually going to tangibly put in place something that was needed. And there actually, over the last few months, have been many articles that have been just penned that talks about the need for institutes such as this in other states. And so the real issue is you got business men and women, you have moms and dads, you've got police and firefighters. All these folks are coming together to become, step up and say, hey, I'll put my name on the ballot, I'll run. And this is going to give them an opportunity to help support them, to help them understand the process of balancing their budgets, to help them understand the interactions between Clarksville, Ohio, or Cincinnati, or Cleveland, or Toledo with the state government, and how our budget operates. I mean, don't forget, most of our budget, 80% of it, is pass-through dollars for the most part. And how does that work? How does grants happen? I'll give you a great example. I was just in one community. They couldn't explain, and I'm not going to say which because I'll get in trouble, but they couldn't explain the fact that they got grant dollars for a new plow truck. And so all the citizens were upset because they thought, they're having increased water rates. This is going to be something, why are they spending money on this? And they couldn't actually differentiate the fact that, where did this come from? Well, if they would have had some, help, that's just one small example of understanding. But, I'll tell you another thing that Representative Schuring and I find all the time, because we put money in the budget all the time, not just to help big communities, but small communities. And we find they don't know how to access those dollars. And part of the issue is for this institute to help these communities figure those things out, so that they're in a position to better, in the long run, use state assets. Whether it's the issues that we put the $20 million in for the capital safety grants not too long ago, to figure out how do you tap into those. The biggest complaint that we always hear from rural communities especially, or small towns and villages that are even suburbs to the major cities, is they don't have grant writers. So how is it that we can help in that endeavor? And that's long term, this institute's vision, but also I think help build new leaders and ensure that there's a pipeline of leaders that are ready to serve at our local level, but also for our state in those interactions.
What's the rough timeline for when the institute might actually start doing whatever you do?
Yeah, well, it's an evolving. It's going to be an evolving process, but I think I'll turn this over to Dean Brown to get into a little more of his details of what he's thinking.
So we're obviously just at the very beginning. We're at the threshold, and rather than run out and start offering programming immediately, our our job, we see in the Glenn College, is to design it right. And so we envision a period of time where we will be hiring staff, and those staff those staff, in conjunction with existing faculty and staff at the Glenn College, will begin the process of listening to state legislators, listening to local officials to learn what are the things that they need. I think the speaker just laid out a great diagnosis, a lot of the macro challenges we're seeing. But in any given community and at any given moment, there will be different kinds of needs that elected officials are going to want training, guidance, and counsel about. And so over the course of the next year, we envision we will be developing the content, and we ultimately envision that there'll be a portfolio of programs available to elected officials. So it won't be one single program that they participate in, but a variety of things. The reality for any student in this moment is that they can't always take time away from their work to go and enter one of our degree programs, for example. So we'll be delivering content in a variety of different ways, some of it in person. We envision some of it will be available online because elected officials are working professionals, and so we need to design content that meets them where they are.
Can you address too, we have the Joanne Davidson Leadership Institute, for example, maybe on the left something like an Emily's List. Why is it important to have something that's neutral like this at this time?
Well, so I think it's two important reasons. One is that you use the magic word, it's neutral. We are bipartisan to nonpartisan. We represent no political party, but rather we represent the citizens and the elected officials of Ohio. So I think it's important to have a place where people feel comfortable that they can come regardless of their political affiliation or allegiance, and to learn from each other. I think the speaker said very, very well that in light of your question about the current dynamic, we need a place that cultivates compromise. And so we envision some portion of the programming being specifically directed at civility, at how to achieve compromise, how to negotiate in a civil way, how to conduct yourself in a way that is respectful of your responsibility as both a citizen and an elected official. And so it's easier to do that if it's not connected to one of the political parties. The second part is that Joanne Davidson's Leadership Institute is a wonderful example of something that is cultivating someone for political office. It is preparing them to run for office. And then ultimately, I think, take on some of those leadership responsibilities. But there's then what happens once elected. What do I do now? And I think the speaker did a marvelous job of laying out a lot of the complex questions that face elected officials at the state and local level, where we can tap into the knowledge and expertise here of the university and the state to deliver that knowledge and content in a way that is accessible to a variety of different kinds of people. So Joanne's Leadership Institute does a great job of getting them into office. We see our job as preparing them for the roles that come after that.
Can you talk about how this will be funded and how the budget contribution?
So this was the start, and we are very aware that this is just the beginning, and it's incumbent on us, the college and the university, to demonstrate value, and we think if it delivers value over time, that will be the basis for securing additional resources from a variety of sources. So at the outset, the college has committed to using some of our own resources. We have an endowment that funds an array of clinical faculty, teaching faculty. The college is pledging to use those resources to hire practitioners to design and deliver much of the content for the Institute. So that helps cover some of the costs on the teaching side. But we also look to seek other additional sources, whether they be philanthropic or corporate, because I think this is such a central and important asset for the state. I think it's in the collective interest of a variety of different groups around the state to contribute over time, again, contingent on our ability to deliver value.
I'm the new elected township trustee for Liberty Township.
Congratulations.
Thank you. How would you let me know about this program, or how would I get involved in this program? How's that going to work out?
Right.
What's gonna be the process?
So again, that's a design question, and I envision over the next several months we'll be working on those things. First, we want to design the program, and one of the ways that you get the word out is actually in the design phase by talking to the newly elected or appointed official and asking them what are the kinds of training programs that they think would help them in their transition into this new role. So just by soliciting advice and listening, you're actually signaling that you're going to be delivering something. So part of it will be word of mouth through that design phase. But then once we have a more complete program developed, there will be a variety of channels through which we disseminate information about the overall program and how to access it. So some of that will be events like this, some of it will be social media, and some of it will be working through the party structures to get information out. So we could envision collaborating with Joanne Davidson's Leadership Institute to co-sponsor an event where we say, hey, Joanne's doing a great job to get you ready for office. This is what awaits you afterwards.